Hi, I'm Jay Goldman, and you are watching Status Update on Butterscotch.com. Today we're going to take a look at the coming location-based services revolution. So location-based services, or LBS, is one of those technologies that's been around the corner for years. And I don't mean the pun that it's around the corner physically, but it is all about where you are actually standing. Stick with me, we're going to do a brief detour, and then we're going to come back and talk about why this is actually important. LBS is continuing a bigger marketing macro trend in the move towards more accountability through better tracking. Every marketer's wet dream is to be able to offer promotions and product knowledge to people based on where they are. If you're in a purchasing situation, they want to hand you something that's related to that purchasing situation. It used to be that marketing and advertising followed more of a spray and pray approach, which meant that you just tried everything that you could think of and some of it worked. The father of modern advertising, John Wanamaker, said, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half." Now, the digital revolution changed all that, so going right back to early weblog analysis tools where you could actually see what people were doing on your websites, and the first banner ad that Hotwire displayed on October 25th, 1994, which was from AT&T, was the beginning of really advertising online and being able to understand everything that was happening. The days of proxy Nielsen ratings where we sort of understand people's behavior on the average are gone, because we can understand exactly what people are doing on our sites, and more importantly, what gets them to pay. AT&T, speaking of which, spent $8 million on Google AdWords in June 2010 alone. AdWords is pretty good, but there's a lot of bad traffic in there from false positive results. People who click on your ads and don't really know what to expect, but end up on your site and now you've paid for them. Imagine what AT&T would spend to get an ad in front of you at exactly the right time and place. And that brings us back to LBS. It's finally possible to do this because we all carry smartphones, and those smartphones that we carry have GPS in them, which means that they're aware of where we are, even if we don't necessarily know, and we can broadcast that information back out to the network. So imagine taking all the power of data-driven marketing and applying it at exactly the right moment when you're making a purchasing decision. Gartner, the analyst firm, says LBS is currently a $1.9 billion business, projected to hit $3.8 billion by 2012. So that might give you some idea of why people are excited about this space. Let's talk about some of the players that are in it. Looped, that's L-O-O-P-T, has arguably been doing this longer than anybody out there. They've got an iPhone app that does a whole bunch of this stuff. It's got mapping and all that kind of thing. And so they're kind of the granddaddy of the space. Foursquare, which is probably the one that you've heard about if you've heard of any of these, recently closed a $20 million Series B round in June, which puts their total valuation at $95 million. That's a crazy valuation for a company that has a relatively small user base, growing quite quickly. But the founder, Dennis Crowley, is no stranger to this space. His first location-based services startup was called Dodgeball and was acquired by Google way back in May 2005. So he's been doing this for a long time, and that's part of why Foursquare is doing as well as it is. Gowalla, which may be the other one that you've heard about, is from the same people who brought us the extremely popular Pack Rat game on Facebook, and they've raised about $10 million. I think the Foursquare guys kind of came out as the pretty clear winner in this, and they're growing at a much faster rate than Gowalla is. So if you're looking to try one of these and you only want to play with one, I would definitely recommend Foursquare. There's some recent competition though. Facebook has just launched Places. It's only accessible right now through their iPhone application or touch.facebook.com if you're in the US. It's a really interesting start. There's not a whole lot there right now, but you can certainly check in, share your location with other people, and see businesses. And they've got 500 million users, so that's going to only get more interesting. Now, keeping up with the Joneses, Yelp has actually started to add check-ins. They did that back in January. And more recently in June, they added the Yelp royalty program to keep up with Foursquare's mayors. So as long as you're the person who checks in most often in a location in Foursquare, you become the mayor. In Yelp, you now become the duke, and then you can become the baron and the king. Shopkick is a really interesting startup that is doing location-based services within in-store promo zones. They launched this with Best Buy, so you can actually get a different offer sent to you if you go to the home theater department and to the computer department, so location-based at a very micro level. All this stuff has a downside. Keep that in mind while you're out there. This does actually tell people where you are all of the time, and there are sites like pleaserobme.com that are humorous take on this, but certainly oversharing can be fatal in this case. There's some stories out there about stalkers, so keep an eye on your information as you always would, but a really exciting place to play in, and definitely worth checking some of these out, and we'll be covering them in some upcoming episodes. If you're looking to buy a domain name, check out hover.com. It's a great place to register your next domain. Use the promo code at the bottom of the screen to save 10% off your next purchase. I'm Jay Goldman. This has been Status Update on Butterscotch.com. Thanks for watching. We'll check you next time.